I promise to have everything in news and current affairs, and we're going to be on the touch screen today for most of the time, talking about three significant topics. And I have to express my gratitude to the crew last Tuesday, led by Annie Ampofo and of course Professor H.S. Sikanku and the professor who joined in the studio to discuss the EIU report at the time, and also to Akwesi Agyeman of the National Tourism Center, who was here to tell us about the future of tourism in Ghana. Thank you to them. Now we are back on the block, and tonight we have very interesting and controversial matters to discuss. The Economic Intelligence Unit issued a report predicting the fortunes of political parties in Ghana, which they do really every quarter. 2 years more to go to the next election. The Economic Intelligence Unit believes that the National Democratic Congress, now in opposition, have a better chance of winning that election, but without the only candidate that the NDC actually have. John Dramani Mahama, former president of Ghana, is really the only candidate in pole position to become the NDC's flag bearer. However, the controversial Economic Intelligence Unit's report says that the NDC have a big chance of winning the election, but they cannot do so with President Mahama on the ballot. What then should the NDC do? We'll be looking at that in some detail. There was another report, Global Analytics, that also did a survey of Ghanaians around the country. That also looked at the fortunes of political parties and individuals. It took a good look at the MPP internal contest, which is now finishing into the home stretch with two candidates, the Vice President Alhaji Mahamadou Bawumia, His Excellency, and the Trade Minister, Mr. Alan Chemating. And Global Analytics looked at them both. But we will talk about also the critique that has just come into our studios. When we put up the poster, the flyer, to discuss this, one PhD man sent us a critique of the Global Analytic. We'll show you the details of the critique that he put out, and then we can deal with it. Whilst we deal with the EIU report, we'll also look at the potential of other candidates in the party, because the EIU report seems really to zero in on candidates, John Mahama, Dr. Bawumia, etc., etc. So we'll look in general at the future of both parties and see, we'll divide it into two categories, those men and women who are over 50 years old. What is the potential of the MPP in supplying Ghana with continuous leadership for vice president and running mate? And then we'll look at the NDC as well, so that you can chew on that, and we can have a lot to talk about on the social media as the text messages come in. So it's a full-blown political conversation. And then we will have on the touch screen a conversation about the interview, the infamous interview granted by a lady, and which has now become the subject matter of interest for the minority in parliament. We noticed that the minority in parliament issued a statement about the interview. The lady is alleging breaches of her human rights by the national security apparatus. We'll look at that story within a broader context and look at it within three themes: the national security apparatus, the threat of it, protecting the national interest, and the role of a president to protect the national purse. How has all of these been discharged within the context of the story that a lady has put up? We'll conclude by saying that perhaps the lady has a call with the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice to complain to him about the abuse of her human rights. We'll discuss national security in the broader context, because we know that the national security itself has done a new policy to sort of manage and to prosecute its arrest operations so that it doesn't violate the human rights of Ghanaians. We know we have a national security that's coming from a revolutionary history, and for the last many years we've been talking about how the national security can carry out its operations better. In this lady's narrative, it comes out clearly that there were some national security infractions on her rights, but we'll look at that in some detail in a broader context. That's coming up on the touch screen. Stay tuned for that. Just have a look at it before you send your text messages. We know that this is a matter that sharply divides the political opinion from the NDC to the MPP. NDC would like it to go one way and to look one way. MPP would like it to look another way. We are going to give it the contextual color so that you can analyze it yourself. So all of that is coming up. That's why I say we're going to be very controversial tonight. All of that is coming up. And also, the Learned Attorney General is asking for more television cameras in the court. He is unhappy that court cases are heard which have a high political and public interest that are not covered in the same fashion as the two election petitions were covered. Learned Attorney General Godfrey Dame thinks that the Lord Chief Justice should allow television cameras into the courtroom so that, as he put it, the poverty of legal expressions and the poverty of the way in which people prosecute their cases will be made clear to the general public. He says that will stop lawyers from carrying out negative propaganda and irresponsible propaganda after they have lost cases, because the general public will see, if the matter is on television, why they lost the case. As he says, by the time the election petition was over, the entire general public knew how this case was going, and they knew those who had conducted their cases well, with good research and with industry, and they were also aware of those who had not conducted a good case, those who came to election petition without evidence. And so it was difficult for the lawyers to spin a propaganda after the case because it was on television. This morning at Labadi Beach Hotel, the Attorney General made a strong call to the Lord Chief Justice that put the cases on television. Let Ghanaians see how we are prosecuted, that soon not matter. And then people will not come out and say that the cases have gone one way because it was political, because the general public will see what they did in court, as he called it, the poverty of their work. Okay, so we will show you in detail what the Attorney General said. It has already generated a divided opinion on social media this evening. People are writing left, right, and center about it. So all of that is coming up tonight on this edition of Good Evening Ghana. Stay tuned, don't go nowhere, and stay with us until 10 o'clock. Also, all students of Domahin Crew Secondary School are going to be joining us in the studio. They are celebrating 75 years of the school, and they have a major, massive homecoming. We're giving them all the full support that we can get. Domahin Crew Secondary School will be in the studio as well. Okay, but before we start, I need to report myself, isn't it? Okay, so I need to report myself to our viewers, especially the football-loving viewers. I'm going to report myself to you. Now, Tuesday night, instead of being here to conduct the program, I had an invitation from friends of mine to be at another place. So here it is. You see the video roll out. I was at Anfield on Tuesday night watching the Liverpool and Manchester United game. Now, this is my own video that I put up when I was excited about watching the United goalkeepers begin their training. At that time, about an hour or so to the game, we were there watching. Now, you know that I'm a Manchester United fan. I was compelled to wear a Liverpool dress, you know, on the occasion, because I went to Anfield in the company of all my Liverpool friends. This game had been postponed, and they had still insisted that we should be there. So Tuesday night I was there watching it. Now you will see me in a photograph where I am wearing a Liverpool dress. There it is. So what could I think of? Kenny Dalglish is one of the famous the players of Liverpool, and I was there. That's me. You see, I'm wearing a Liverpool scarf. I'm a Manchester United fan, and I was wearing a Liverpool dress. It was quite uncomfortable, wasn't it? But watching the game, I made some observations that I think that we can actually share. I think that Liverpool play well. They're a very, very good side. And then watching from the stadium close to the pitch also gives you an indication actually of how good they are. And I saw Virgil van Dijk and the way in which he controls the back and he moves the team. I think that's totally amazing. Manchester United were totally shambolic. I was hoping to see Cristiano Ronaldo. Unfortunately, he couldn't play because of the tragedy of the death of his son. But United were totally shambolic. And watching at the stadium, you could tell Liverpool really know what they are doing. They just know everything. However, at the end of the game, the story is that Manchester United fans are hoping that Manchester City will win the title. Their city rivals. They don't want their arch rivals, Liverpool, to win the title. You know why? Because United have won the title 20 times. Liverpool have won the title 19 times. If Liverpool win the title this time, United will not be able to sing a particular song anymore. It's called 20 times Man United. That's a good song that we have been singing for a very long time since we won the 20th title about 6 years ago. Now, we don't want Liverpool to win. So we are hoping they don't win. But full credit to Liverpool. I watched them. They're a great side, fantastic side. They play well. They control the game. I fell in love with Virgil van Dijk. Charlie, the guy is good. You know, the way he controls from the back, and when he has the ball, his distribution sense and his sheer height is just amazing. The guy is a very good player. I was delighted to see Sadio Mane because of the African connection. And then we were reminded at the stadium as we were admiring Liverpool that Sadio Mane will be coming up against He'll be coming up against Virgil van Dijk in the first game of the World Cup in their group, because Senegal will be playing Holland, the Netherlands, And so we talked about that at the stadium, but it was a fantastic experience. Thank you very much to all those who made it possible for me to be at Anfield on Tuesday night. Now, Manchester were defeated and also devastated. So, you know, UK time is 1 hour ahead of Ghana time. So at 10 o'clock when the game ended, Good Evening Ghana had just started. So I was on my phone watching Aniampo on the touchscreen. And they asked me that, what are you doing on the phone? Because at that time there was a lot of celebration at the stadium. The game had ended. Liverpool were excited. I was just quietly watching Good Evening Ghana on my phone. They said, what are you watching? I said, I'm watching my program. Leave me alone. You know, United had been beaten by 4 goals. But the story then came out that United now have a new coach. Is it a coaching problem? I'm not so sure. Let's go to Ibrahim Zebula on the touchscreen, beginning with this is my first part of the program on my confession on why I wasn't here on Tuesday. Ibrahim, what's the name of the new coach? What's he going to do for us?
Okay, Paul, so welcome back to Ghana. But you didn't take me along.
I will take you along next time. I will.
And you talked about Virgil van Dijk, but you didn't make mention of the performance of Harry Maguire. He has been...
Oh, that was terrible. That was terrible. It was very, very embarrassing.
But he's the captain of the side.
He is. And I don't know. On Saturday, they have to go to Arsenal and try and get a result,
yes,
isn't it?
Yes, if they want to make it to the top 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now who's this guy?
So Eric Ten Hag, you know, last week we talked about him when the negotiations were still going on. So today, the Twitter page of Manchester United confirmed that they had hired Eric Ten Hag, who will be coming to the team next season for a 3-year period. He has been given a 3-year contract with an option to extend by a year. So if you ask who is Eric Ten Hag, he's currently the coach of Ajax. He's 51 years old. He's been in the coaching game for about 10 years now. He started his coaching journey with Go Eagles. They were in the second tier of the Dutch football, but he qualified them to the Eredivisie, and then he moved to Bayern Munich to coach the Bayern Munich second team at the time that Pep Guardiola was the head coach of Bayern Munich. So many people say that was the time that he also built his style of football. That's the time he also learned from Guardiola and built his style of football.
But if he was coaching second team when Pep was the first team coach, then he's nowhere near Pep in terms of caliber, isn't it?
Yes, but since moving to Ajax, and you look at the kind of performances that he has shown at Ajax, especially in the Champions League when he meets very good teams, like his most memorable wins have been against Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu, and also going to eliminate Juventus at Turin in the Champions League, qualifying Ajax to the Champions League semi-finals in his first attempt. So you look at those performances that he has done with Ajax, winning the Eredivisie with them and winning a lot of trophies with them, and the kind of style of play that he has introduced into Ajax, you see that he has grown in the game and he has
Ajax been winning the title in
Yes, they have been winning since he went there. They've been dominating the Eredivisie.
But they don't do well in the Champions League. Semi-final is not good enough for Manchester United.
Yes. Ajax, if you want to put it in context, Ajax are not a team who buy like Manchester United buy. So they promote a lot from the academy and also pick a lot of players who are not that high budget players. And so for a coach of that caliber to be able to bring such players together, because in that season where he took them to the semi-finals, you look at the kind of players that he brought in. Not those players at the time didn't have the kind of fame that a lot of players have. Player like De Ligt, who immediately after that Juventus took him. A player like Hakim Ziyech, who is currently at Chelsea, a player like Van der Beek, who also was bought by Manchester United, De Jong, who also went to Barcelona. So he was the one who basically brought up these players and made them who they became later. So he's that kind of
Manchester
coach.
United is a big club. You need a coach with a huge name and that kind of thing, you know. Pochettino, Mourinho, this guy does he have the spirit for it?
That's Manchester United have tried those kind of coaches since Alex Ferguson left. They've tried those kind of coaches. First, they tried David Moyes, who was with Everton.
He wasn't a big
name, but
coach, yeah.
Because of what he had done at Everton, had been with Everton for a very long time, and Alex Ferguson admired his style of play, and so Alex Ferguson suggested that the job be given to him. He came in and he didn't succeed, and then Manchester went for a big name, who was Van Gaal, Louis Van Gaal.
Van Gaal was not bad. I think after Ferguson, Van Gaal has been the most successful.
Mourinho actually is the most successful. He won 2 trophies. He won the Europa League and also the Carabao. No, Carabao. But it was Van Gaal who won the FA Cup in his last match. His last match for Manchester United. So they brought in the big names. Van Gaal has come in. He couldn't perform. Mourinho also came in with his big ego and also his style of football and all the things that we know Mourinho for. He also couldn't succeed. And then they went in for an old player of theirs, Solskjaer, who came in, showed signs of being a very good coach, but in the latter part, he also showed that he was inept in some aspects of the game. And so right now, if you talk about the big names, even if you look on the world stage now, which big names would you like to bring? Pochettino.
Yes, Pochettino.
Yes, Pochettino. You look
Zinedine
at
Zidane.
Pochettino. If you talk about Pochettino, then we can also say Pochettino is just like Eric Ten Hag. Because Pochettino has also never won anything significant in his career.
Really? But he did well with Spurs.
He never won anything with them. He also went to the Champions League finals with them. And actually, in that semi-finals, Pochettino and Eric Ten Hag met in that semi-finals, and Pochettino beat Eric Ten Hag. It was a very, very dramatic game in Amsterdam that day because Ajax were leading at halftime, and everyone thought Ajax were going to win. Within about 10 minutes, Spurs scored 3 goals, and they were able to make it to the final. So Pochettino is also...
This was the final that Liverpool won.
Yeah, this is the final that Liverpool won against Spurs. So Pochettino is also not a coach who has also won a lot. You look at his current...
But he talks about the team in Manchester that he's going to take a lot of people out and all of that. Does he have the caliber to attract great players back to Manchester United? That's also the big part of it. Yeah. I see that he has asked the agents to resign. I think they are leaving the club, so he's going to bring his own agent. But the important thing about bringing players coming is the confidence that they have with the coach. Like Robin van Persie left Arsenal to play for Man United because of Alex Ferguson.
Yes.
Does he have that?
Yes, we also heard before he was brought in, when rumors started coming that he was one good, we heard that the players at Manchester United were divided. Some wanted Pochettino, and some also agreed that Eric Ten Hag to have. So the dressing room was also divided on his selection. So that was one of the reasons that dragged these negotiations, because he made certain demands that he wanted Manchester United to respect. Otherwise, he was not going to come. He wanted any transfer that the club was going to make, he wanted to be involved. Any transfer, whether in or out, whether a player is leaving or coming in, he wanted to be significantly involved in those kind of transfers. And players, and he wanted a huge authority, like how the kind of authority that Alex Ferguson had. Because the previous Manchester United coaches who have come, we've realized that they've had challenges with that. But his negative is also that he has also never coached big ego players and players who have achieved a lot in their career, like Cristiano Ronaldo. He's not coached such players before. And so managing the egos of such players is something that we've not seen him exhibit before. We've always seen him manage players who are coming up and a bit of experience, because you look at the Ajax team, he mixed them with a bit of experienced players like Dusan Tadic and also the former Manchester United left back. There was a former Manchester United, so he mixed them, but we've not seen him work with a lot of big name players before. So this is going to be his first test. But what we are hearing is that even the current coach is saying that apart from the goalkeeper, a lot of changes will have to be made in almost all the departments of the Manchester United team, from defense to attack. A lot of changes will have to be made. But one thing that will attract the quality players to come to Manchester United will be Champions League football, which the team is struggling to achieve at the moment. If the team don't make it to Champions League, and they probably don't make it to Europa League and have to play in the Conference League, the big names will not feel attracted to come to Manchester United. That's the huge challenge for him.
That's a big challenge, isn't it? That's a significant challenge. So that's our football story. We have a surprise for you in the studio as far as football is concerned, and he's going to walk in to join us. Our surprise football guest is coming into the studio tonight. Remember that we have more politics to do on Good Evening Ghana tonight. We're talking about the EIU report. We're talking about the Ladies in Famous interview, alleged national security breaches against her. And we're talking about the Attorney General is wanting more television cameras into the courtroom these days for politically sensitive cases that the Supreme Court hears. All of that is coming up whilst we're now discussing the Manchester United bit. Okay, hold on. As on our surprise comes, you can ask him a few questions. So I'm hoping that he comes in very soon. And by now, I think you can guess who it is. Yes. Oh, they're taking too long. They're taking too long in bringing in the surprise guest. He should come in right now. Okay, so I'm going to stand up and welcome him, because he's a legend. And when a legend is coming to the studio, you welcome him. Okay, let's hear it go.
Asamoah Gyan, baby jet, Ghana mama who of no defense, no repeat, no surrender. Omo feteke, and say Yakuma, Linda, Barbara, Monica, Jessica, Pamela, Sarah, gift in a diner. Mujina come on, Muyo go out. Asamoah Gyan, Muyo go out. Baby, baby, you they make my mind is cut down. Ghana girl, come on, move off. I did that, then for you get it. Baby jet, say Sana.
All right, so Asamoah Gyan is in the studio. He's going to tell us about the big event, which is the book launch. This is the first time any Ghanaian footballer has launched a book. And do you need to touch his mic? You have to come and do it. This is the first time a Ghanaian footballer is launching a book, and we applaud Asamoah Gyan for that. He's going to share his experiences with us. We always talk about how experiences of our politicians and our important people don't get to be known by the next generation, because they don't document and they don't write it out well. So now, Asamoah Gyan, the former captain of the Black Stars, the all-time highest scoring striker of the Ghana Black Stars, is going to launch a book. When I see you, I just remember the way you chested the ball, beat the American defender, and you put that was something. That was something. How did you do it in those days? And I also remember the World Cup, the first one. The first game with what game was that? 2006 World Cup. He scored a penalty. The first game.
The first goal Ghana scored against Czech Republic.
Was it a penalty?
No, it wasn't a penalty.
But that day he scored a penalty. No, the Czech Republic.
Czech Republic.
Yeah.
You are talking of 2010.
That was a big one. The Czech Republic one was brutal. I was at the stadium in Nuremberg. That was it. That was the Czech Republic one. Because we had been beaten by Italy in the first game. And so going to the Czech Republic, we were all worried. Early goal, wasn't it? Very early goal.
So the fastest goal in the tournament.
Yes. No, I'm talking about...
that's the Serbia one.
Nemanja Vidic's team.
Serbia. That's South Africa 2010.
That was 2010.
Yes.
That was a penalty, wasn't it?
Yes, penalty.
Yeah, I calmed down our nerves. You've done well for Ghana. There's no doubt about that. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And everybody... I was actually happy that you said you want to play for Asante Kotoko.
Yeah, I'm a Kotoko fan.
Yeah.
I was a kid.
But your brother played for Kotoko, right?
He played.
Yeah, he did. Okay.
That's the use of his career.
So did you know you were going to play football? You had to choose between football and music.
I knew I was going to play football. At the age of 9, I told my friends. Even when I was in GS, I told my friends that I hadn't qualified for the World Cup. So I just said it jokingly, but I had placed in myself. So I told them the first time I went there, I qualified for the World Cup.
Oh, I see. Do you remember your first game for the Black Stars?
Yes.
Which year was it?
It was in 2003.
2003.
Yes.
Oh, that's a long time ago. Yeah. Was it a qualifier?
It was a qualifier. World Cup qualifier.
You have to change his microphone?
No.
Okay, let me take a break. Okay, they are doing it. So they are trying to change his microphone. What must he say everything you're saying again? Must he say everything you're saying again? We can go on. Okay, so they are just working on his microphone. Sorry about that, viewers. Baby Jet is in the studio for a very short time. He's going to give us our invitation to the Saturday event. Yes, okay, can we go on? Yeah, all right. You were telling me about the first time you played, 2003. What game was it?
It was against Somalia.
In Accra?
Yes, in Accra.
Oh, I see.
It was 16th of November.
Okay, so you played for Liberty Professionals?
Yes, I did.
And then you went abroad? Okay, I remember the goals you scored for Sunderland against Chelsea. Yeah, that day, 3-0, wasn't it? Yeah, Ghanaians were not too happy, because a lot of Ghanaian supporters like Chelsea. Yeah. But we were happy that Asamoah Gyan was shining.
Yeah, but at that time I was able to pull some crowds.
You did. No doubt about that.
So,
but we're not happy that you left Sunderland, because we thought you were going to go on to Tottenham and then win the Champions League, Because you were beginning to dominate English football, but you left.
Yeah, I left in my prime, but things happen. Things happen, and I'm here to talk about the book, and all these things is captured in the book. Sometimes people see what they have to see and what they have to say, but my side of the story is what makes the book very, very interesting. There are a lot of things people see, they say about me, and a lot of things, So in my book, that is where they will see my side of the story, and then they will understand.
Before we went for the AFCON, and again, you did something good on DSTV. We saw you in South Africa. The studio made us very, very proud in the way you analyzed. And the kind of respect they had for you there, it was encouraging. But with the kind of goals you have scored, everybody will have respect for you. When the other footballers see you, I'm sure that, on American television, your goal was an advert for many years.
Oh, wow.
I
didn't know that.
The way you turned to chase the ball, that was, that's Marco van Basten. That's what made it. That's what made it for those of us who really like football. That was a super, super goal.
That was
a great goal.
Individual brilliance.
Sometimes
you need to just take responsibility.
You have a lot to say, because the goal you scored against England at Wembley as well.
Yes.
You dribbled almost everybody, including dribbling the supporters. Because we had, when you pick the ball, we were doing that. The way you were playing that ball, I wish you had a goal here to show it. Maybe they'll show it on the Facebook one. You picked the ball, you went this way. So, when you do that, all of us turn our head that way. Then you went this way, then we turned our head that way.
Yeah.
Then we started rising because now you were getting close.
Yes.
And we were 1-0 down.
Yes.
And it was getting to the end. And oh man, you scored the goal. That
is what I said. It's sometimes you need to take responsibility, individual brilliance. It got to a time, time was almost up. Sometimes I need to take risk. As you said, I dribbled everybody.
Including the supporters.
Everybody thought I was going to give the ball to Inkum on the right.
Yes.
So
it was Inkum. I don't remember.
Yeah, he was waiting for the cross.
For the pass, yeah.
And I was like, hey, let me go solo.
It worked.
Sometimes you need it. This makes you a big player.
Yeah, it is. It does. So what time is the event?
It starts at 5. It's just about 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Event. And everybody should.
Are we going to dance? Will you sing after that?
I don't know. Sometimes.
But your PR team have done a good job. The way you have been sending your invitations to all the different aspects of society, fantastic job. Fantastic job.
I decided to take it upon myself, to go myself, to present the invitation. Sometimes some people admire me from afar. They've never seen me before. It's the amazing thing is we go to places and even on that day people have a flight to catch. They have to travel, but because of my presence, what I did, they had to cancel their flight and wait for the event. So I really appreciate those who are coming.
Great. And I saw you yesterday on City TV. Very good interview. Very, very good interview.
Thank you.
What happened in Liberia? You went to play football with George Weah?
Yeah. He was opening one of the fields, like a park.
Yeah.
In Monrovia. So he called all the legends, not all, like most of us to represent. I was in a meeting when he even called me. He called me personally.
Yeah.
So I decided to another event. But everything went on successful. Of course, I had some great fans there who were.
You have fans across Africa. When you're on DSTV, the text messages coming from Zambia, Kenya, Zimbabwe. You know how the European commentators used to pronounce your name? Gyan.
Yeah.
That's what they used to say. Asamoah Gyan.
Yeah, I noticed.
But that was a great Black Stars team. They're great Black. We are hoping that in the World Cup in November we can raise a team like you guys did in 2010 and 2006 and 2010. That was a fantastic team.
Thank you.
We want to have another Black Stars where we can talk about a triangle of SCN, Muntari, Apia, and Jan in the front. That was perfect. When we saw that, we could go to bed. You have SCN, you have Muntari, you have Apia, and Jan is the arrowhead. We are fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was always a very great feeling. Very much a question for you.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe thank you very much for coming. I'd like to know, you said you've not retired from the Black Stars yet, but you need to get in shape before you can get into the team. Do you think if you start training now and getting fit, do you think you can make it to the World Cup in November?
To make it to the World Cup, it will depend on the technical team and everybody around the team. I can't just wake up and then go and join. As you said, I need a couple of months to shed weight, to be more fitter to play competitive football. So that is the plan. I have to just be fit and make sure I can play any competitive football. If the national team decide they need my help in the national team, definitely.
But can you play? Are you fit?
For now, no.
How long will it take you?
It take me to 2 months.
What do you have to do?
Yeah, I have what to do.
But I'm looking at you. You look okay. So am I fit? Can I play?
I don't know, but I know myself.
Yeah.
I think I've added weight.
So you need to reduce weight.
Yeah, I need to reduce weight. I need to be on diet. Be harder in training. I know the routines.
Okay. So you have to get back into the routines for about 2-3 months.
Yeah.
And you'll be ready to play competitive football.
Yeah, that is
45 minutes or 15 or 90.
It will depend.
On what?
Me being off the field for quite a long time, to play like a friendly match, like you start with 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you'll be playing more friendly matches.
Well, that's a very good feeling. So you really can, if you condition to be in that game against Portugal.
Definitely.
And you can put the ball back in the net.
Talent-wise, I think.
No, you have too much of that. There's no problem.
The only thing I need is the physical part. I need to be just fit.
What's the most difficult part of a striker's role on the field?
To put the ball in the net.
What was the difficult part? To run, to anticipate the vision, all of which you have, your anticipation, your vision, your pacing.
Not everybody has that. It's very, very difficult to get a complete striker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm lucky to be part of the lucky ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have strikers who just try and go straight, put the ball in front of them, and then tap in. You know, there are strikers who cannot even play one touch. You know, they just wait for the ball and then put the ball in.
I understand that your book has a lot of information, but I have to ask you the penalty against Uruguay. It's in the book, isn't it? That,
yes.
You see, when I watched it again, it was actually a very good penalty. It was, if the goalkeeper was away, you put him out, and where you tried to place the ball, there was no way the goalkeeper would have gotten it. It was a good penalty.
That was, I didn't, where the ball went, that was not the place I wanted to place the ball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wanted to place it on his far right.
It went to his right, up.
Yeah. You know, I wanted to put the ball on his far right, but I saw him going there, so I changed in the last minute. So the ball went straight to the crossbar.
But if you hit it the same way and hit it hard, he would have scored.
Yes, I would have scored. But I saw him moving there, you know, so I had to just change in the last minute. But my penalty doesn't go that high.
No, yeah.
You know, that day I was a bit surprised my penalty went that high.
But you knew you had scored. We all thought you had scored because the slow motion showed that you were running to celebrate.
No, I don't.
Because when the ball went up, you know, the ball went high a little bit, but it started well. So if you gauge how the ball started, you would anticipate that it will go into the net.
Yeah, I realized the ball was going to hit the bar, you know, so I was anticipating for the rebound.
Oh, the rebound, yeah.
And then
also it hit the bar and went over.
Yes, it went.
It didn't come back.
It didn't come back. You know,
but during the penalties, you put the ball in clean.
Yes,
during the real penalties.
I wanted to prove myself that it was just a mistake. You know, and you know, it's not everybody who can step up
after that. Yeah.
So I just wanted to prove myself, like, it was just a mistake. I need to just do what I do best.
Wow. And we would have been in the semi-final.
Yes. You know,
did you know that? Was that in your mind when you were playing the penalty?
Yeah.
That this penalty is taking.
So I was the first penalty taker in the team.
Did you look at the bench for a signal whether you should take it?
No, it's
automatic.
There.
It's automatic, yeah.
Any player would give the ball to me at that time.
But because is it true Steven wanted to take it?
No. Even him, if he had the ball, he would have given it to me because they know it's listed.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you are the team's penalty taker.
Yeah, we have who to take corner kicks, who to take free kicks.
Oh, I see.
You know, yeah.
A penalty was Asamoah Gyan.
Like, for example, like in football, like free kicks, we have who to take free kicks. But sometimes you might fail it, and then you take responsibility. This one you say, okay, I will take it.
CK Akuno has a story like that. I don't know whether he heard it with Abedi Pele in an AFCON, where he told Abedi was a free kick taker, and he told him, this one I want to take. I feel I can take it. And he scored.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
I see. But we played with the Uruguayans we played a good game. It was.
Yeah.
Which World Cup was your
I think
most
we dominated.
You played 3 World Cups, haven't you?
3 World Cups.
Which one was your most difficult?
Difficult? The most difficult World Cup was the first one, 2006. I was inexperienced. Although I was
but you did well.
Although I was more energetic, doing what I had to do, but there were certain things, if it was in 2014, I would have done it much easier.
Okay.
You know, I think against Czech Republic, I should have gotten a hat trick.
Yes, you could have scored many goals. Yeah.
You know, I was inexperienced. It's part of the game. You know, I had to learn and grow up, and then become who I am.
Wow. So your best World Cup was what, 2010?
2010. That was my best year in my career.
You were in England at the time?
That was after.
Then you went to Sunderland, okay.
Yeah. So
which was your best AFCON? 2008?
2010.
The Angola?
Angola. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We went to the final, didn't we?
Went to the final.
Yeah.
That was my best year.
The 2010, yeah?
Yes, in everything, on and off the field.
So how many pages is the book?
350.
Oh, I see. Yeah. And you have some memorable photographs in there?
Yeah, but they said it's a surprise, so...
Okay, so wait.
So now I haven't seen what is in the book.
Oh, I see.
I just gave my story.
Yeah.
And I remember everything in the book, but pictures...
You don't know how they...
They said it's a surprise, they don't show you.
So it's happening where? Kimpiski, isn't it?
Kimpiski.
At 5 o'clock. 30th is next week, Saturday.
Yes.
At what time?
It starts at 5. Red carpet. Technicalities, I think my team can talk about the technicalities around
Tell us about it.
But me, I'm just there to share my story.
What's Duffuor doing these days?
Duffuor is a businessman.
I see.
Duffuor is a businessman.
He's older than you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so he's also doing his thing behind the scene. You know, he's not a football fan.
I see.
Yeah, he's not a football fan. He's a business guy.
He's just doing business. Yeah. If you were to go back to the Black Stars as if you get it, will you still wear number 3 shirts?
Yeah.
That's your shirt?
Yeah, that's my shirt.
You like that? Who's wearing it right now? Nobody's wearing it.
I think the last game, one of the guys was wearing it. I don't know. I've forgotten.
Okay, let's take one more question for you and then we'll let you go so you get ready. Matilda, what's the question you have?
Okay, so first I'd like to say, Asamoah Gyan, thank you so much for coming here today. I'm your biggest fan in Ghana, I'm sure.
Oh, thank you.
So my question is, I remember one moment you were like the most loved man in Ghana. You were the person that everyone talked about. If anybody travels outside and they mention that they're from Ghana, they will say, do you know Asamoah Gyan? And then the next moment, you missed that penalty and the whole Ghana hated you. I just want to ask how you dealt with that, because I'm sure it must have been a very, very tough moment for you.
Yeah, I put myself in that position. You know, to be a football player and be a well-known player, you have to be ready for anything. You know, it comes with the territory. You know, so I had to prepare my mind for all these things. You know, you cannot be perfect throughout your career, you know, and I felt like it was a mistake, and I'm somebody who can redeem myself because of the qualities I have, you know. Today I might not score, I might play bad, but I make sure in the next game I do what I have to do, you know. It comes with the territory, as I said. People might hate me at that time, but after, when you sit down and then you assess things, you know, it was meant to be. It was just a mistake, you know. So I had to just deal with it to the end of my life. I can't change it, you know. Maybe my son or anybody from my jinx can step up one day and then redeem. Maybe I might not be around, you know. So life goes on.
Okay, but you have a question.
Question. Yes, Mr. Gyan. I just wanted to know, firstly, how your experience in China was versus with the EPL. And I want to know how you think Ghana's chances of revenge against Uruguay are. If you think we should forget about revenge.
The most important thing is to qualify from the group stage, you know, and go further. You know, when we think about revenge, yeah, sometimes psychologically it's good. It boosts your morale. You are going for a revenge, but it's a different generation altogether. You know, 2010 and 2022, it's a different ball game altogether. You know, so yeah, it's very easy to say you're going for revenge, but you have to prove it. You know, so we are all praying for the team to do well in Qatar. And then my move to China was a good one. It's one of my biggest deal in my career. You know, I went there, reception was good. I started very, very well, and that was when my injuries started. You know, so I couldn't perform the way I had wanted to. You know, I remember that was in 2014. 2014, in my club level in Alain, I played almost all the game. I played every game. You know, from league, cup game, national team. I played every game 90 minutes, you know, and my holidays, I didn't rest. That was when I had a contract to China. So after the season, I went to Brazil to play the World Cup. Played every game, came back. Instead of me to rest, there was no rest. I had to go to China to complete the deal. So it was like I was very, very tired, and that was when the injuries started. So I didn't perform. So I went on loan. I played just one season. Scored a couple of important goals for the club. But I didn't live up to expectation. The club was depending on me so much that I was always injured. I wasn't there. So that was. But as you said, in England, I started so well. I took my form from the World Cup to Sunderland. I scored in my debut. Everything was perfect. The fans, I was loved by the fans. Sometimes even the African girls, we used to play it in the stadium before we come on the field and stuff. Everybody danced to the song. 2010 was my best year. On and off the field. Yeah.
I see. That's interesting. Which Premier League club do you support? English Premier League.
Manchester United.
Oh, you're like us. Okay. So you've seen what's happening to the club. I was in the Anfield Stadium on Tuesday when we were badly beaten. It was very, very bad.
Yeah, we've got a lot of Manchester United fans here. But
did you ever think of playing for Manchester United when you were at Sunderland? Because it was a real possibility.
Yeah, there was a possibility. But there were a lot of big clubs in England that was looking for my signature, but it didn't go through.
How is Steve Bruce, your coach?
A great guy.
Are you still in touch with him?
Steve Bruce?
Yeah.
No. It's been a while.
I see. Which club do you like in Spain?
Barcelona.
Barcelona, not Real Madrid.
Barcelona.
Which club do you like in France?
In France? Lyon.
Oh, Lyon. Did you play for Lyon?
No.
Okay. Did you play in France at all? You did?
I played for Rennes.
Oh, I see.
Stade Rennes, yeah.
I see. So you played against Marseille sometimes?
Everybody.
At that time, had Ayew started playing?
Ayew was playing for Marseille, but I think he went on loan to another club.
Yeah. Before he played for Marseille fully.
Yeah, he went to the second division.
And in Italy, which club do you like in the Serie A?
AC Milan.
Oh, you're a Milan fan. I see. And in Ghana, Asante Kotoko.
Hey, fabulous.
So if you pick up form, will you play for them? Sule Muntari is playing for us.
If I pick up form, I have to play for Kotoko.
Yeah.
If not, then I don't know. But
I'm a huge fan of red jersey and play at the Kumasi Sports Stadium.
I'm a huge fan.
And you score against Haas for us.
I started scoring against us when I was in Liberty.
Liberty, yes, I remember. I remember. Do you think that in losing Sly, we are losing bringing new Asamoah Gyan and Muntari the way Sly did it?
I think we've lost a great guy. Since Sly left, things has been very, very difficult.
Yeah.
When you talk about football demonstration, I think he was one of the best. His IQ, players, he can see you
how he could pick players.
That is the amazing thing about him.
Yeah.
Sule Muntari, Michael Essien, myself, my brother Peter Forikwe, a lot of great players. He was the one who did everything before the sadly death. It was a shocking news to us, but life goes on. It's somebody who has done a lot.
So did football make you rich?
Yes. Yes. Football gave me everything. Football gave me everything. And I would say I'm living in my dream right now because that is what I wanted to do. And I did it finally. So I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy, man. That is why sometimes people see me, this guy there, he's always happy. Sometimes, at a tender age, people will say, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. And then the person end up being
something else,
like
engineer.
A different thing, But when you are living in your dream, it's a great feeling.
It is, yeah.
So I'm lucky to.
Are you married?
Why?
Okay, we'll end on that note. Asamoah Gyan will tell us on the day of the book launch when he speaks whether he's married or not. That's a good guy. So we want to take a commercial break so we can take photographs with him in the studio. You want to see those photographs, it will be on social media. Sorry, you cannot take the photograph with him. If you are near our studio at Northridge, you can come. But we have the legend in the studio. We have the star in the studio. He is our property for the next 5 minutes. We're taking photographs with him. After the break, when he's gone, we'll do the politics on the touch screen. This is Good Evening Ghana. It's live.
Are we on TV? Not yet. Because I want to make a song. Oh, ciao.
We start. I beg you, all the situation.
Are we on TV? Not yet. Because I want to make a song. Oh, ciao.
We start. I beg you, all the situation.
Are we on TV? Not yet. Because I want to make a song. Oh, ciao.
We start. I beg you, all the situation.
Are we on TV? Not yet. Because I want to make a song. Oh, ciao.
We start. I beg you, all the situation.
Okay, welcome back to the show, and thank you very much for your time. Baby Jet Asamoah Gyan has lighted up our studios. He's downstairs, there's a lot of activity there. All our drivers and guys are with him, and they're having a good time. We'll all be at the event to support him because we like people who document. It's an intellectual work, and he's done a good job. Documenting what has happened and all the secrets of what happened in the dressing room is going to be in the book. Watch out for that, and let's hear other players do that. Now let's get on to the politics. And the Economics Intelligence Unit, one of the global research institutions that researches into political fortunes, economic situations, and all of that, and make predictions, have once again spoken. They do that every quarter sometimes, and in every election sometimes they speak. Often they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. Now they are saying something very interesting and very peculiar, because they will usually predict an election outcome and say that a political party is leading at this time and has a better chance of winning, another one has a better chance of winning. This time they are not just predicting about political parties, they are predicting about political parties. They are speaking about candidates as well. President Mahama has come up for a big conversation in the EIU report. It almost sounds contradictory, because the EIU suggests that the National Democratic Congress in opposition have a chance of winning the presidential elections in 2024, December 2024. However, that victory will elude the NDC if President John Dramani Mahama is the candidate of the party. That sounds very contradictory, doesn't it? Because as far as we know, President Mahama is almost certainly going to be the candidate of the NDC. Is the EIU suggesting, therefore, that if President Mahama is a candidate, the NDC cannot win and that the NPP will win? Well, how does it do to their own analysis? Because you analyze that NDC can win, but they cannot win with John Mahama. This is the second time the EIU is saying that, not the first time. We're going to look in some detail in what they are saying. So EIU predicts victory for the NDC in 2004, but without John Mahama. John Mahama is the only candidate that the NDC have, don't they? Or do the NDC have another candidate? Here it is. Dr. Kwabena Duffuor has emerged as the strongest yet person to challenge President Mahama for the ticket. Dr. Duffuor is much older than President Mahama. Dr. Duffuor also served as the finance minister for Professor Mills and the former governor of the central bank for Flight Lieutenant Rawlins. So in terms of working with the NDC, Dr. Duffuor knows it. When President Mahama became president in 2013, he did not retain Dr. Duffuor as the finance minister who had been with Mills. Dr. Duffuor is now challenging President Mahama, and the supporters of Duffuor have been making this point about President Mahama's ineligibility, unelectability to the Ghanaian people because of certain issues. One of them that is now coming up big time is that President Mahama is going to run one term if he were to become president again. That's a big issue. That's a very big issue. It wasn't a big issue in 2020. Why? Because in 2020, both of the leading candidates had an opportunity to do just one term. President Akufo-Addo was looking for a second term, and President Mahama was also looking for a second term, invariably. Therefore, in 2020, it was not a big story about whether a candidate was going to do one term or not. In 2024, it's going to be part of the considerations, and it's going to be a big story, aside President Mahama's record. And I have to say that in 2020, the main matter on the table was a record versus a record. President Mahama had done 4 years in office, President Akufo-Addo had done 4 years in office, and the MPP, and President Akufo-Addo in particular, actually pushed for that to be the denominator for the election. President Akufo-Addo said, compare my record to his record and make a decision. It turned out that the Ghanaian people, by a majority of 500,000, 500,000, decided that President Akufo-Addo's record of 4 years was better than President Mahama. Now, President Akufo-Addo is not going to be on the ballot. President Mahama is going to be on the ballot almost certainly if he's able to assail the challenge coming from Dr. Duffuor. Many political watchers think that he might be able to do that, at least if the election were run today. We don't know when the NDC's election will be run, maybe sometime early next year, maybe sometime at the end of this year. But for now, many political watchers believe that if the contest is taken today, President Mahama will win the election in terms of the NDC's internal contest. Supporters of Dr. Duffuor have been encouraged by the EIU report significantly, and they are telling the NDC people that, you see, we told you about President Mahama. Apart from his one-terminism, Ben Efson, the famous political poster, is bringing up another issue against President Mahama. Now, Ben Efson says that he thinks that President Mahama can defy the EIU results by changing his running mate. That's very important. That's another conversation altogether. So Ben Efson wastes the conversation and says that, don't worry, EIU is right. They may be right. What President Mahama can do if he's certainly going to be the candidate for the NDC, is to change his running mate. Now, this issue about President Mahama and changing his running mate has come up. During the last election, Dr. Asamoah, in granting an interview to Joy News, talked about it, about the running mate of the NDC. So, the question is, advisors of President Mahama are going to be watching this very closely. We have already heard Felix Kwabena speaking to Joy FM last Tuesday, when the EI report was released, and he said that come rain, come high water, John Dramani Mahama will be the candidate of the NDC. There are those who think like that, and there are those who also believe that it's probably too late to change the candidate in spite of the EI report, in spite of the difficulties and the seemingly unsurmountable difficulties that confront the NDC with John Mahama. He's going to do one term. He has a record to defend. He has to defend it against either Alhaji Muhammadu Bawumia or Alan Chemartin. Whoever wins the NPP contest is also going to be another contest of MPP versus NDC, who is more development oriented. MPP are going to say that in the history of the Fourth Republic, we have been champions of social interventions, even though our opponents are socialist, a socialist party. If you name the magnificent and major social interventions that have happened in the Fourth Republic, then these MPP are going to claim all of it. They're going to claim some under President Kufuor, and they're going to claim the rest under Nana Akufo-Addo. Fundamentally, free SHS, NIH, health and education are fundamental to social interventionism. And so those who have been able to intervene in health and education are going to be the champions of social intervention. That should normally go to the left-wing party. In the analysis of Ghana's context, it actually goes to the right-wing MPP since the beginning of the Fourth Republic, who have made significant interventions in education and in health that have changed the lives of the people. MPP are going to claim that. Now, all of these matters are going to be confronted. John Mahama has to confront all of these matters. One-terminism, a record that may not be very sustainable, because even today, the World Bank is predicting that Ghana's economy in 2022 is going to grow by 5.5%. John Mahama's last economy in 2016 grew by 3.4%. So all of these matters are going to come up, and the President Mahama and his team must confront these deals. And these are the points that are being raised for those who are backing Dr. Duffuor, that let's have a change. And for Benefsin, it's too late to change John Mahama, but you can change Jenano Opoku-Agyeman. But should you change Jenano Opoku-Agyeman? Was Jenano Opoku-Agyeman not responsible for something good in 2020? Have Ghanaians not warmed up to her, and so you have to repeat her? Or is it that she completely lost everything, and so if you bring her back, the NDC is not going to win? All of these things are things that we'll be watching as time goes on for political watchers. Now, I have seen this interesting observation that we have made from the data. We have looked at the last few elections, and the data shows something particularly significant in terms of NDC's victories. So the AI is predicting that NDC has a better chance of winning 2024, etc., etc. MPP have dismissed that anyway. They have dismissed it on the basis that the EIU is just being lazy. They are just looking at Ghana's political history, and they are saying every 8 years something changes. If they were not being lazy, where is the data from which they are drawing the research? And where is the whole John Mahama thing coming from? Why are you saying that they can win, but without the only candidate they have? It's almost like saying that you will not win the election. Because what do you mean by they can win the election but not with John? John Mahama is the candidate they have. What does that mean? EIU must come clean on that. So the MPP are dismissing that anyway. But we have made this observation from the data. Anytime the NDC wins the election, there's a very significant poll. It's a very significant, did I say anytime the NDC win? Anytime the NDC do well, including winning. So I'm calling election 2020 as an election that the NDC did well, because they were not expected to perform that well, particularly in parliament, even in the presidential election. They had been defeated by 1 million votes in 2016. It was widely expected that the NPP was going to win. It was widely expected that the NPP were going to win a flat fundamental victory. It was a first round victory, but it was short by 500,000, came up to 500,000 votes for the NPP, short by 500,000 of the 1 million, and so came up to 500,000. So the point is this, that anytime the NDC do well, there's a staggering data reflection on spoiled ballots, rejected ballots. Whenever the NDC do well, rejected ballots are so high. And we have observed that we are going to continue to build up the analysis. And if it's possible, we might decide to go to court and compel the Electoral Commission to produce the spoiled ballots of these two elections so that we can have another look at it and analyze those spoiled ballots. I'll show you what I mean. This is the data analysis. I'm not attributing it to anything. I'm just sharing the data with you. So this is election 2008, isn't it? Okay. Now, in the first round, there were 205,438 sports ballots representing 2.4% of the vote. I have never really understood what happened in 2008. And I've been looking at the figures for many years now. I've shared with a lot of my academic colleagues and a lot of my media colleagues that I look at 2008 election. Why did we have such a significant number of sports ballots? Rejected ballots in 2008 election was 2.4%. Now 2.4%, I'll show you, came third. I'll show you the data. Yes. Now this is election 2008's results of the first round. Where you see President Akufo-Addo come up with 49.13%, Jonathan Mills come up with 47.92%. This is when the MPP was looking for the third term coming after the Kufuor election, an election that was run, I think it was the first election on social media. It was a very heavy election very heavy on propaganda. Look at the performance of the rest. So you start from Papa Kwesi Indum. He comes up at 1.34%. Edward Mahama, these are stalwarts. Indum is stalwart, Edward Mahama is stalwart. Edward Mahama comes up with 0.87%. Emmanuel Entry comes up with 0.33%. Kwesi Amoafo Yeboah comes up with 0.23%. T.N. Ward-Brew comes up with 0.10%. Kwabena Duffuor comes up with 0.0%. Look at the percentage of the sports ballots. 2.4%. is the percentage of the sports ballots in 2008, an election that the NDC won. Okay, let me progress and let's do the data. Okay, in the second, this is 2016. Okay, so here's 2016, the election that the NDC lost. Number of sports ballots drops to 1.5%. This is 2016 selections, the one the MPP won, 1.5%. We're coming from 2008. I've excluded 2012 because of all the circumstances surrounding it. I don't want to use it for the data analysis. So we want to look at elections that were, that. So 2008 is what we've looked at. 2016, the election that the MPP won, sport ballots, or if you like, the election that the NDC did not do well, sport ballots is 167,000, coming up to 1.5%. Okay, let's look at 2020 presidential poll, an election that the NDC did well. Look at the sport ballots again, 313,397, 2.33%. Why do we have such a significant number of sport ballots in the ballots anytime the NDC do well in the election? That's something that we need to look at. It's a data analysis, and if we can, can you get me water, please? Sorry, they're going to bring me water. If you look at the data, I thought you'd take one of the ones from here. Okay, forgive me, let me just grab the water. Okay, yes, Serene, come back to the studio and let's deal with it. So yes, if you look at the data, you see that 313,000. So that's something that we need to look at as we move on with all of these reports. And then there is, let me go on. There's also an analysis on the global analytics. That's another report. They also kind of put NDC as ahead, but there's a major critique that has come to the global analytics survey that I'm going to share with you right now. Dr. Baumia and Alan Chemartin are the main contestants for the MPP contest. And Global Analytics is analyzing which of these two candidates will be more difficult for John Mahama to defeat and which one will be easier for John Mahama to defeat. We'll look at that in some detail. Okay, so here are some of the criticism that has been leveled against the Global Analytics. It's very interesting, so I want us to read it. It says, the critique says that Global Analytics is using a confidence interval of 99%. This means a margin of error of 1% and not 1.799% that they have mentioned. With a population of 4.6 million, the least of a sample size for a survey will be 16,000 and not 5,000 being used. Consult any formula of sample size determination you know. So this critique, Dr. Mahama, I believe, is making the point that the model that was applied, the fundamental statistical model that was applied by Global Analytics is wrong because it says if this is the kind of population you are dealing with, your sample size must be 16,000, and they said their sample size was 5,200. And he said that the margin of error ought to have been 1% and not 1.7%. Let's move on. He says, no one mixes random and non-random data to make conclusions that will reflect the population mean. The Global Info Analytics did not did that and made the conclusions thereof. He's alleging that they have mixed random and non-random analysis. He says there's a wrong sample population or target. In polling for the likely candidate for a party, your target should be the delegates, that's the electoral college of the party. This is why we say some candidates may be popular, can win primaries, but can't win the final election. The Global Info Analysis Survey focused on the general population, and that's a wrong target for determining the preferences for a candidate by a particular group. I think this is very interesting. If it is true that the Global Analytics were speaking to any other person other than the electoral college members, because this election, the internal party election, is going to be conducted not by all MPP members or not even by all Ghanaians, certainly. It's going to be conducted by an electoral college, polling station executives, constituency executives, regional executives, members of parliament, etc. So they are an electoral college. If therefore you want to see who has a better chance of winning, you have to poll within the electoral college. I think I agree with this particular one, if that is what Global Analysis did. Okay, it continues. The resultant effect of the sampling error is more NDC respondents making decisions about MPP primaries than the MPP party. Certainly, this is wrong. Polls are not done in that way. Okay, so I'm not sure how he comes to the conclusion that in terms of the survey, you could have, because you're talking to anybody at all. So if I'm an NDC person, you're asking me that between Alanche Martin and Dr. Bawumia, who would win? Well, of course, the answer I'll give you may not be a genuine answer. It's an answer that I give you about the outcome that I want. So that's what he's saying. That's what he's complaining about. It says, where we accept that the data, despite the inadequacy based on their own parameters for sample size determination and glossing over the convenience sample for almost half of the data, where we agree that that data is accurate, they would have been required to control for over-representation of certain classes of respondents. This was not done. The explanation that it's a poll and should not go by this tenet is problematic, to the extent that you make conclusions for the general population with that data rather than limiting it to the group of people's opinion. That's very interesting. So he's saying that when you are polling among a certain group of people, say supporters of the National Democratic Congress or supporters of the New Patriotic Party, you need to tell that this is the group that I'm polling out of. You should not attribute their answers and explanations to the general Ghanaian population. That's the point that is being made here, which I think is a correct point. He goes on to say that the poll is cross-sectional. January poll and April poll. Creating perception of a quarterly survey is actually misleading. Number 7, he says the questions are vague. While acknowledging general and broad questions could be asked in a survey, such questions must be unambiguous and sometimes derived from series of specific questions already asked. Researchers are usually not around to explain the questions. Wrong understanding begets wrong answers. Example, what direction is the country heading towards? Okay, so he criticizes the questions as well. And then he talks about the pairing John Mahama and Dr. Bawumia, where you have a sample size where there are more NDC people talking than MPP people. He says that you will come to the conclusion that President Mahama is in the lead. So this is an important critique. We will put it out on our social media page, the entire critique of Dr. Mahama, so you can look at it and assess it yourself. You know, we like this kind of intellectual analysis. So that's the end of our first story. I don't know how many text messages we have on the EIU report, John Mahama, Dr. Duffuor, Ben Efson, Jenano, Poko Ajiman, etc., etc. Do we have some text messages we can deal with? Okay, let me begin with you. Matilda, what are people saying? How are they reacting to our first story? Next story is a story about the lady. I'll come to that. Matilda, what are they saying?
All right, so I have some messages for Asamoah Gyan. Obatachi Jeff Don Rusty says, Paul, my boss, tell Asamoah that he has done well for Ghana and I like his outfit. Alantre Mantin African wear is doing us good and there is more to come. Also from Daniel Ahim, Paul, I'm very happy the MPP has taken this report seriously, and I know slow by sure they will work and change things around for the next 2 years ahead of us. Watching you live from Virginia, USA. From Kenny Ken James, MPP will win both the presidential and parliamentary elections in 2024. John Dramani Mahama can never be president of Ghana again. John is too corrupt and incompetent.
Iron Babako Kokomisa says, EIU report on the election in the system is right by all standards. EIU facts, figures and gatherings on reports on election matters are correct. My point is that in Ghana politics, even if you bring in rocket scientists and election prophets to calculate and predict the Ghanaian election outcome, the probability of the results failing is high because Ghanaians do not vote based on issues because of their living standards of the people and the current economic situation. Niatu says the mention of John Dramani Mahama sends shivers down the spine. He will lead his party to victory. Better prepare your notes of accountability. Nana Ekwama says, good evening, Apostle Paul. The NDC is so much afraid of Dr. Bawumia, so I'm not surprised they have sponsored a survey putting Alan Cash ahead of Dr. Bawumia. Job day ground, and I know MPP delegates will vote massively for Dr. Bawumia.
Also from Francis Tichofe Agosu, Kwabena Duffuor will not even put 10,000 votes. Those encouraging him just want to spend his money. Ex-President John Mahama is the sure bet to lead the NDC in 2024. Simply put, Mahama has over 60% chance of winning the upcoming general elections. The rest is left to the party communication apparatus. Also from Ali Duem Sadiq Sayad, Mr. Paul, you are just the best, and may Allah protect and guide you and your family. And also coming from Adam Tofik Tundana, Paul, you are too much. It's always great listening to your presentation. We should always listen to your program. And also from Odo, Paul, serious, so this data is worth interrogating. NDC having positive correlation with spoiled ballots. And also from Nanayao Mystique, for this spoiled ballot issue, what they are saying about.
Okay, from Ureku Edu, a broadcast journalist, he says one more thing, Paul. EIU report that came out. We know them in our political history, predicting our elections, in quotes. This particular report is hitting where and there. Bad news for the NPP, good news for the NDC as a party, bad for candidature. Is this giving the NPP chances to break the 8, or rather downplaying the NDC candidates in terms of track record? #GEG. Now, Honorable Ayuba from Yagbon in Savannah says the EIU prediction worse for John Mahama rerun for his second term needs further explanation. In any case, if they predicted doom for the MPP, that simply means that anybody, including myself, can win the 2024 elections if given the opportunity to run on the ticket of the NDC. This EIU report is confusing many of us, but the bottom line is the NDC winning 2024 elections. Now, someone asked, he says, good evening, I'm still confused about the survey between Honorable Allen and His Excellency Dr. Bawumia, because I know that it's the party delegates that always vote to elect a presidential candidate, not the general public. So what was the methodology used? And from Sir Awuku Asubo, he says the EIU report confirming the rejection of incompetent Mr. Mahama's comeback isn't surprising, because we've always known him to be incompetent, that we can't entrust the governance of this country into his hands again. And from Yao Amoabeng Achampon, he says, Paul, on the issue of the EIU baseline report, I think EIU was right when they said the NDC must get a new presidential candidate. This is because, till date, the self-acclaimed opposition NDC leader has not announced any single policy direction for the development of this country in the unlikely event that they win power. Even Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, whom the NDC supporters have rubbished his chance of winning, has announced its hotter policy for the entire NDC party members. My point is, what is it at all that the self-acclaimed opposition NDC leader coming to do with this country again? The level of incompetence that has been exhibited by the former president, John Mahama, is beyond any human imagination, and Ghanaians must show that we are not suffering from short memory. Let's support the NPP government to break the 8 for better things that are yet to come. From Aki Efia constituency.
Okay, so let's get on with it. And looking at this conversation about President Mahama is not the right person, and look at what are the other options open to the NDC and MPP, all of them. we just did some work on photographs and personalities who potentially could come in. But if you look at the NDC, because of President Mahama's dominance, the longevity of his dominance, you sort of think that people like Spio Gabra, who used to be key in the whole situation, right now, we don't know where Spio Gabra really is, but he was at Dr. Duffuor's event anyway, so we had assumed that he's supporting Dr. Duffuor. And so I hear, Joshua Alabi was a campaign manager of John Mahama. He wanted to be, but he's also another kind of replacement. If they have to replace, he's a potential for it. Guzitano, sort of great political future that was showing in the past. Somehow he didn't become a minister in President Mahama's administration. He didn't become a minister in Professor Mills' administration. He challenged President Mahama for the 2020 ticket. Very well spoken, very intellectual guy. But somehow he has not showed up, the way that he should to become one who can be the candidate. Let's come to the younger generation. We start with Haruna Idrisu, who is minority leader in Parliament, and Idrisu is also the potential. If we're looking at the stack of potentials at the MPP, Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa, very young, just turning 40, I believe. He's also a potential for it, isn't he? Then we have some George. Also, I'm just looking at the younger people who can sort of come in as running mates or presidential candidates in case that there has to be a change. And looking at the future of going beyond 2024, who are the potential people that the NDC have? And these are the men. I didn't put any woman in there. Jenano Pokwajiman would have been. Now, this is also Sami Jemfi, who's showed up as a communications person. I don't know whether he's ready for that kind of high level of responsibility yet. But yes, Sami Jemfi is also in there if you're looking at the future of the NDC. Now, let's talk about the MPP. So there's Alanche Martin and there's Dr. Baumia, who are leading the charge right now, including Boache Jako, who is inside the race. Now, you look at a person like Isaac Osei and you think that, yes, MPP really have somebody that they have not looked at well. Isaac Osei is one of those. We're just looking at the people who can come in, because EIU is now talking about candidates, individual candidates. John Mahama, suitability, electability. Dr. Baumia, John Mahama, they say, doesn't have electability. Ben Epson says he can change that with his running mate. We're looking at all the people. Isaac Osei for the MPP. You look at Matthew Poku Prempe, Napo is another over there. His successor, Dr. Yawe Duchum. Osei Yawe Duchum has become across as one of the most articulate ministers in terms of speaking about the thing that concerns our people the most, education. And even from the time that he was a deputy minister, Duchum has been very articulate and yet clear in his mind. No one was surprised that the president made him the minister after the Napo went to energy. So Educhum is one that you can think of as one who can lead the country either as a number one or as a number two, because he thoroughly understands what concerns many people in the world today and what concerns many Ghanaians, education. Dr. Educhum clearly understands that. Then you have Asla Usu, if you are talking about women, in terms of being in the government as a minister, her role in opposition, her role in parliament. You can tell that these are the people who are on the MPP bench. And so we're looking at the people on the bench. You look at the NDC bench and you look at the MPP bench, because the EIU is calling for substitutions, if we have to use the football terminology. The EIU is calling for last-minute substitutions before political parties can win. So we are looking at the bench. That's we looked at the NDC bench, and this is the MPP bench. Esla also is over there. And then Madame Cecilia Dapa, she's had a lot of experience as a minister, as a holding several ministerial portfolios as an officer in the office of the president during the Kufuor era. So Madame Cecilia Dapa has quite a bit of experience. Dan Boche is also there as local minister for local government, and Damboche is a long-time political organizer. He organized the MPP ahead of 2000, leading to the famous victory. He continued as Minister of Information. He's now a member of Parliament. He's been there. So if you look at the MPP bench, you see that looking into the future, they seem to have quite a bit. Kwabena Duffuor also over there. Now he's thinking about running for presidency again, but he's also one of the stalwarts of the party who understands the politics and who seems to have a real patriotic streak. If you listen to Kwabena Duffuor, his sense of patriotism is particularly very high. Okay, and then you have Ken Oforiatta, who has been Minister of Finance over the years, soft-spoken, but has been proven to be a deep political operator, and his thought leadership in terms of economics and finance, we have to wait till 2024 before he can write his full story about what he's done with Ghana's economy over the 8 years that he's been finance minister. By that time, he would have done it for 8 years, but we believe that Ken is going to come up with a very, very good story by that time, and that will certainly catapult him onto the bench of leadership of the new patriotic party. Charles Dubois, his deputy, also comes from a family of political leadership. His father, Professor Dubois, he led the MPP for a while. He doesn't seem to be interested in direct political leadership, but yes, he comes up on the bench as one of those who are the over 50 year group, including Shelley Ayakoboche, the foreign minister. She'll make a beautiful vice president, wouldn't she? I think she would, having been foreign minister, deputy foreign minister, member of parliament for a place like Soweto. You should credit her with a lot of political savviness. Shelley Ayakoboche also sits on the bench of the MPP. Here is Samuel Atachia, very direct-spoken member of parliament for Buakwa, the one who inherited Akufo-Addo seat in parliament. He was minister for works and housing in the first era of the Akufo-Addo administration. I'm looking at the MPP over 50s right now. I'll come to the below 50s and 40s, and then you see what I mean. Okay, so I begin with the under 50s now. Godfrey Dame is here, the Attorney General, whose document we will be looking at pretty shortly. He's also one of the potential young people in the Akufo-Addo administration that are showing that they have some gravitas, not just some, a lot of gravitas to be able to run the affairs of state. This is the MPP bench. It looks quite solid. And then you have Abdullahi Jinapo, who is Minister for Lands, former Deputy Minister, former Deputy Chief of Staff, is also showing a lot of energy and showing particular gravitas. Incidentally, both of them are lawyers. The third one also is a lawyer, lawyers in the MPP. Kojo Ponkroma, of course, I call him the communications avatar. He's demonstrated that he knows how to manage the situation, do things. He'll make a beautiful vice president, would he? Okay. And then you come to Alexander Afenyo Markin, the guy from Winneba, also a lawyer. Wow, this is interesting. So lawyer. Oh, wow. All the MPP young men are lawyers. Alexander Afenyo Markin is the deputy majority leader in parliament. And we all know that if we had listened to Alexander Afenyo Markin on the dawn of the 7th of January, all these Asin matters would not have happened. He drew the attention of the clerk of parliament to the fact that a notice had been served from the Cape Coast High Court on the Honorable Kwesi. Nobody listened to him. It turned out into a brawl. Eventually, after a year and a half, the Supreme Court has settled that matter. But Alexander Afenyo Markin has showed a lot of industry in parliament. And certainly, he's one of those that you can look at in the future below the age of 50, who can, actually, I think below the age of 45 as well, who can actually make it. All the people I've showed are below 45. Abena Osasai, the Deputy Minister at Finance. This will be her second term as Deputy Minister of Finance, a chartered accountant in her own right, a member of Parliament as well. And so you see that the gravitas is there. Abena is also below the age of 45. And this is the MPP bench. And then I have just mentioned and added Dr. Antoinette Tibudaku. You saw her. She's the director of the Dankwa Institute, PhD. And you saw her speak about e-levy on the video that's gone viral. And you look at that, you see on Good Morning Ghana, sometimes, I don't know whether she'll be on tomorrow. If you look at that, you see that this is a very solid, very solid team that are with. She should also make a good vice president. George Anda, former Deputy Minister for Communications, former Member of Parliament, who is incidentally launching his autobiography on Sunday. I would be there at that event. George is one of all those who comes up as in the leadership position. And I'm doing this because I'm saying that the Economics Intelligence Unit is asking for substitutions of the leaders at the last minute, especially of John Mahama. So I've looked at the NDC substitution bench, and I'm looking at the MPP substitution bench. George Anda is over there. I think that he concludes the under 40. This is just a little gossip. This last segment it is. Okay, what's the time now? 10:32. All right. We will go and talk to Doma Secondary School. They are celebrating 75 years of Doma Secondary School. I mean, you can't wish that away. That's a big story. And 3 of them are here in the studio to share it with us. We will do something about Exim Bank. Ghana Exim Bank are resuming their Tuesday market to strengthen local industry. I'll show you some of the local products that they will be supporting over there. Now, though, let's go to the Attorney General's comment earlier this morning. They're going to put it on the back of the screen for me. Kweku will do that very shortly. So earlier this morning, there was a conference at the Labadi Beach Hotel. It was entitled The Bench, the Bar, and the Faculty. And at that event, the Attorney General spoke. So did the Learned Chief Justice, so did the Dean of the Faculty of Law, and so did the Superior Court Judge, Justice Tokonu. Now, what excited us about the Attorney General speaking was asking for more television cameras to get into the court so that they can see the work that he's doing, because there's been concern about the NDC especially, NDC lawyers especially, complaining about courts in a manner that makes the citizenry confused. Attorney General is saying that, don't worry about it. Bring the cameras to court. Come and see what he described as the poverty of their industry. Okay, let's look at other things the Attorney General said at this morning's event. So let's start from here. He says, the Supreme Court should rethink justice delivery. Now, he's talking about virtual cases. He says, the Superior Court should deliver more rulings virtually, as this reduces cost, saves time, and boosts efficiency. Further, he says, I dare say that the time has come for the Supreme Court to reduce its caseload by prioritizing the kinds of cases it actually hears. The rules of the Supreme Court should be revised. Okay, so he wants the Supreme Court to deal with it by technology. He says, only important cases with the potential of resulting in a change of the law or with immense public interest should be heard by the Supreme Court. This will lead to efficiency in the productivity of the highest court of our republic. Clearly, to achieve this efficiency, the judiciary will require the cooperation of the bar. Kwabena is making an important argument. He says only important cases that have the potential of resulting in a change of the law with immense public interest should be heard by the Supreme Court. Do you agree with him on that? That's what happens in America, isn't it? The American Supreme Court does not just hear many cases as the Ghanaian Supreme Court is saddled with in terms of interlocutory applications that begin from circuit court. You can have, so those are the applications that lawyers make that do not go to the final conclusion of the matter, but that require to be settled before the case can progress. Sometimes in these applications that they call interlocutory, you would have to raise constitutional issues. When those matters are raised, the law says that the Supreme Court must have preeminence in determining the interpretation of Constitution. So straight away, they have to wait for the Supreme Court to do that, and then they come back to the Circuit Court to continue. High Court is also sending its interlocutories. Court of Appeal may be sending its interlocutories. Other people are invoking the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in matters and in a manner that Godfrey Dame says does not result, or could not, or will not result in a change of law, and it doesn't have immense public interest. So he says all of those matters that will not result in a change of law and does not have immense public interest, don't deal with this in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court should only deal with cases that have immense public interest. So he spoke at this is typically for the lawyers and the bench. Let me go to the one that has wide public interest. This is entitled The Unjust Attack on the Judiciary by Lawyers. He says, my Lord Chief Justice, one would have thought that lawyers who would have taken advantage of the blessings of the digital evolution, which I have spoken about this morning, to consolidate the importance of the legal profession and its central role in the affairs of state. On the contrary, the Attorney General observes, recent developments disclose a systematic attempt by a certain group of lawyers, often belonging to a side of the political divide, to deploy social media to denigrate the administration of justice through poisoned and caustic attacks on judgments of the courts, albeit unjustified. This, he says, is often witnessed in commentary on so-called political cases where some lawyers perceive the outcome to have a far-reaching consequence for the objectives of the political parties they sympathize with. Faced with adverse rulings, some lawyers go to the rather farcical extent of actually advocating for the abolition or scrapping of our courts. The most deplorable thing, he says, about such endeavor is that many a time their vicious comments are plainly wrong. Yet, the propagators of these wrong and dangerous ideas do not relent in their efforts to push them down the throats of the unsuspecting public. Such disreputable practice on the part of some lawyers further becomes an inducement to persons who are not members of the legal profession to launch even more savage and illogical attacks on the judiciary. This conduct is clearly despicable, as it has the ultimate tendency to destroy the integrity of the institutions of justice delivery in Ghana. I note, this is very interesting, Godfrey Dame says, I note that Dr. J.B. Dankwa's only reaction to the judgment in the Riakoto case, which posterity has judged to be obnoxious, was, quote, I am grateful. President Akufo-Addo's only reaction to the verdict in the 2013 election petition, which some scholars perceive to be wrong, was, quote, even though I disagree, I accept it, unquote. Such, as he says, is the time-honored standard of civility in law practice that we should aspire to observe at all times. I think this is very significant. Dr. Dame is saying that these days lawyers lose cases in court, or their side lose the cases in court. Then they go ballistic and they attack the integrity of the judiciary. He says that should stop. And then he recollects that Dr. Dankwa, when he lost the famous Riakoto case, that's a very old case, we're all not born, but it was a case that everybody thought the Supreme Court may have been wrong. All Dr. Dankwa said when he was told that he has lost the case, when he was told the verdict, that my lords, I'm most grateful, which is what lawyers said. He walked away from the court. When President Akufo-Addo lost the 2013 election petition, he called a press conference and said, even though I disagree with it, I accept it, that I accept that the nation must move on. And he's talking about that civility is lost. And these days, lawyers from political divide just bastardize the court anyhow, and then they still go to the courts. He's calling for an end to that. Then he comes to this one, which is exciting all the media this evening. He says, broadcast of constitutional and political cases. Quote, he says, reflecting on these unhealthy developments, I have spoken about. Reflecting on these unhealthy developments that I've spoken about the lawyers criticizing the judiciary unwholesomely, Godfrey Dame continues, says, my Lord Chief Justice, sometimes I really think the way to go is to permit more broadcast of cases of immense national importance and not the election petition alone. When this is done, the poverty of legal reasoning behind certain cases dismissed by the Supreme Court and in respect of which the state emerges the victor will be exposed for all to see. This is interesting. Very, very interesting. He says that when they come to court, they perform poorly. And then they go and say that the judgment is political. Because it says it's the poverty of the legal reason, the kind of reasoning they bring to the court, it cannot stand the test of time. And then because the general public did not see it, because the general public did not hear them, they go out and organize press conferences and say that the ruling was political. That's what the Attorney General is complaining against. He says, I have nothing to hide. Bring the cameras to the court. Let the general public hear their argument and hear my argument. And the general public will know why the court has ruled the way they ruled. Because in the election petition, it was impossible to come out and spin. Because we all saw Rojo Metil-Nunu. We saw the questions that were asked of him. We saw the answers that he gave. We saw Johnson Asiedu Nketia struggling to calculate something. And we saw everything that happened. So it was almost impossible for the lawyers to come and say that we have been cheated, because they had not been cheated. In the first election petition, we all saw what happened. So where the Ghanaian people felt that this one could have gone another way, they saw it. They don't need to be, nobody needs to spin this. So that's what the Learned Attorney General, I'm hoping that the Ghana Journalists Association and the National Media Commission will add their voice to the voice of the Attorney General to ask the Lord Chief Justice, please consider that when there are important cases like the Asen North case, all of those things that have public interest, let the television cameras be there, let them show it on the state broadcasters network so that everybody can see. And then he is saying, when that happens, we will see the poverty of the legal reasoning. Well, I don't know whether legal reasoning is good or bad, but he's been in the court and that's what he's saying. So we should add our voice to it. The Ghana Journalists Association, National Media Commission, add your voice to what the Attorney General is saying so that we can see what happens in the court. Okay. Legal education, he says, okay, we don't have much time to go to legal education. Now, it's now the time to talk about the ladies' video, and then we go to Doma Secondary School. And that's a very controversial matter. It's 41 minutes past 10. That means 20 minutes to 11. Okay, so let's start this one. I saw the interview. It's a very sensitive matter, isn't it? It is. Very, very sensitive matter. And there are aspects that I sympathize with the lady. I'll tell you what. It made me sound trivial. The aspect that I listened that I really felt for her, I'll tell you what it is. But the concerns that have been expressed, and I'm talking about this because Minority in Parliament has taken an interest in the matter. They said that they're looking at the video. So I believe that, where are the three things? So... before the constitutional article, the three things that you should write, the public interest and all that, transport. Let me have that quickly, please. Okay, so yes, so here they are. Okay, so this is the context within which we're going to, in the next 5 minutes, to analyze the products of that infamous interview by a lady who is alleging national security breaches to her fundamental human rights. Okay, protecting the public purse is an important part of that conversation. That seems not to be coming out, and we're going to bring that out today. Protecting the public purse in the whole saga and the whole situation. Protecting the public purse is one aspect that we're going to talk about. Okay, next one is protecting the national interest pursuant to Article 57(1) and 2. And we're going to show you what's in Article 57(1) and 2, why we talk about the fact that this conversation has this theme embedded in it, and it's a theme that should be distilled and ventilated for people to understand. Okay, so it is protecting the national interest pursuant to Article 57(1) and 2. Then there's a third theme, guarantee the individual rights of the lady and every Ghanaian for that matter. Okay, so let's start with protecting the national interest and the reason why national security will be involved. Okay, so in her story, she says that after being in the president's company, first of all in the aircraft and then later on in Kumasi, she then put out photographs of her encounter, normal photographs, out on social media, including photographs from the presidential plane. Now, we have to understand that the president of Ghana, who is in the presidential plane, can ask people to join him. And in that plane, she was not the only one. The president, the Greek minister, and other people were on the plane. But when the president of Ghana is on the presidential jet, it becomes an official security zone, isn't it? It is. Any president, for that matter. And you know that there's a famous video that was done about Air Force One, the American president's plane, the film, full film on Air Force One. I think it was Harrison Ford, some actor who did it. Remind me of who did it. I can tell my viewers. Now, before he did the Air Force One, which showed everything in the plane, it is rumored that there was a change of the configuration of the plane for the American president because the general public has seen what's already in the plane. Because it's a security place for the president of the United States, once they had allowed the movie to be shot, they had to change the configuration of the plane. So sitting in the aircraft, the president's plane, it's a security place. So if you now put photographs out on social media, and she herself said that the president had told her that because of those photographs, national security may be interested. Now, I've been to visit a president. When President Mahama was a president, I saw him. Of course, you know that he graciously granted me all the 2 live interviews for television that he had when he was president. And I've seen him in those circumstances. I've seen him in other circumstances. I've seen him privately when he was president. Sometimes they take my phone from me. Sometimes they don't. Yeah, but often they do. Same with President Akufo-Addo. Sometimes you're going to see him, they take your phone from you. Sometimes they don't, depending on the circumstance. So in the situation where they don't take your phone from you, they expect that I should know that I shouldn't take photographs, as we say in Ghana, by heart, you know, because you are in the president's company. So if I leave President Mahama's company, and then I post photographs on social media, that this is our president, and it's a kind of place that is a security area. Maybe it is in his office, or maybe it's in his house or something like that, and I post those photographs and I have my phone, the national state security apparatus would be interested in what other photographs do I have. Naturally, whether I'm a man or a woman, the national security will be interested, and so it is my duty to then submit the phone to national security and say, this is the phone. The pictures that I showed is all that I took. I've not taken any more. They will say, bring your phone, let's check. And they bring it. That's the reason why sometimes they take the phone from me when I go to the president. So my concern about the national security aspect is that maybe, I sympathize with the lady in one point that I'm coming to make soon, but maybe she ought to have known that if you have been in the president's campaign and you have taken photographs around security installations, the national security will be interested in your phone. So you hand it over to them. Once you have no evil intention, once you have nothing to hide, you just hand over the phone to them and say, these are the photographs I took. She didn't do that. That doesn't mean she should have been brutalized. But let me explain to you why I think national security will be interested in the phone. Let's go back to the constitutional article. So when national security is doing their work, they are not doing their work about the person of the president. They are doing their work about the office of the president. Their responsibility is to protect the office of the president, because all of us are about the office of the president. Any national security institution will be concerned about anything that happens at the office of the president. That's in Article 57 of the Republican Constitution. Let me show it to you right now. Article 57 says, President of Ghana. It says that there shall be a president of the Republic of Ghana who shall be the head of state and the head of government and the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. So this person is the head of state, head of government, and commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. Do you want photographs of him that are not complimentary to be published by some guy, some girl, somewhere? National security will say a big no to that. And it's a big no all day long. Regardless of whatever, the answer to that question, should national security go after a phone that has photographs of the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, the head of government of Ghana, and the head of state, that person who occupies this tripartite authority of Ghana, which is all of us. If you read Bertrand Rousseau's Social Justice, then we all subsume our authority to the president. So if a lady puts up a photograph or a man puts up a photograph, and national security think that, hey, let's get the phone and see what's in, what they are doing is not protecting the person of the president. They are protecting the office of the president. That's their responsibility. They will do that all day long. You see? And let's move on. Article 2, it says, the president shall take, that is 57.2. The president shall take precedence over all other persons in Ghana. And in descending order, the vice president, the speaker of parliament, the chief justice shall take precedence over all other persons in Ghana. Number 58, it says, the executive authority of Ghana shall vest in the president and shall be exercised in accordance with the provisions of this constitution. So to those Ghanaians who are excited that there's a photograph of the president and it should be published, what is called the president of Ghana involves all Ghanaians, all of us. If you read the social contract by Rousseau, we have all given our dignity and our authority. So the president is a fountain of dignity, is a fountain of honor for all of us. It is for that reason that whether it's the CIA in America, the MI6 in England, the Mossad in Russia, the Israelis, every state security institution will be concerned about whatever information that could potentially go out about the president of Ghana or the president of that country, so long as he occupies that position. It is foolhardy for anyone to think that I will not give my phone to national security. I don't care. It's foolhardy. It's totally foolhardy. Now, I will come back to the seatbelt. The way the seatbelt sort of, pins into your tummy. And I'm thinking of this woman in her 40s who has had 4 children, 4 male children, and she's describing this experience. That's very painful. That is very, very painful. And we have all been concerned about the overbearing attitude of national security when they are conducting their operations. So she has a case there. Now, her remedy is to write to the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. Because you see, the Attorney General is also the Minister for Justice. This is a Ghanaian alleging injustice against her in the manner of an operation that was conducted by the national security. I believe that national security needed to conduct an operation to take hold of whatever she has off the president of Ghana. That was very, very important. And for those Ghanaians who think that was not important, I'm not sure how Ghanaian you are being. Because it's the president of Ghana. We shouldn't allow people to have a photograph and he goes, no, that's the president of Ghana. That's a fountain of honor and dignity. You can deal with the president however you want in the ballot box if you can, or 3 years after he has left office, the constitution allows you to prosecute him or to bring any charges against him. But while he is in office as the president of Ghana, any matter that will compromise any situation socially, the national security are interested in that. They ought to be interested and they ought to implement it. But the way they implement it is clearly wrong. I mean, nobody will endorse that. And the national security itself know that they are putting together a new policy. Don't we know that? They are putting together a new policy. So on that note, I think that the lady deserves some recompense. She has to write to the Attorney General and describe it. And you heard audios that she herself has published, secretly recording the CID director, exchanging words with Hobson Adoye and all of that. So we know all of that. But let's come now to the final critical bit. Let me get back to the three issues. The final critical bit in protecting the public purse. Now, this is where my issue is. Okay, protecting the public purse. What is the whole confrontation about? The lady felt that she had been mistreated and that she should be paid some money. But why? Because she may have heard in the past that people have become easily gone landlords and all of that as a result of some of these kinds of situations. So she wanted money. There's something to be said about the situation not delivering to her any amount of money from the public purse. There's something to be said for that. Don't you think there's something to be said for that? Get your phone, hurry up, text. Good evening, Ghana official, tell us. I'm saying that if you listen to the whole context, there are 3 things. The national security's interest, which we have looked at in the Constitution. The fact that the operation was overbearing, and therefore, she has to write to the Attorney General and complain about it. And I'm sure that the Attorney General and the CID will do something about it. They had already started doing something in the conversation that she herself publishes with Mami T.Y. and Hobson Adoye, some exchange of words, so they can continue with that process. But she has to understand that it's foolhardy to deny the national security the gadgets out of which you have taken photographs of the president in a presidential jet of Ghana in a security installation. It's foolhardy to do that. She should have just submitted to national security. However, the national security was overbearing, and so we need to deal with that. The seatbelt issue is still on my mind. I'm really sorry for you, madam. Really, really sorry about it. I know that how that is painful. I'm sorry about it. And I think that many Ghanaians will be sorry for that situation. However, doesn't take away from the fact the national security needed it. Protecting the public purse is important. If this is how we're going to continue, it's important that our presidents don't get into situations where either by blackmail or by something they just dole out money to people. President Akufo-Addo has demonstrated that in this particular situation, he has stood by the public purse. Because he controls the public purse, he could have said, oh, this is becoming such a problem. Give her house at East Legon so that she becomes an East Legon landlord, like some of the rumors that have been around before. But he didn't do that. See, the lady in the whole conversation talked about the 20,000 cedis that had been given to her by Hobson Adoye. There was no pillage of the public purse because of a supposed blackmail or a story that could potentially grow to blackmail. So this is our take on that. This is our firm take on that. And I know that the comments are going to come. Let's hear it. But the big takeaway from the story is that the public purse was protected, isn't it? Okay, so our story has ended on that. Doma Secondary School will now begin by singing out their school anthem. Let's hear you, Doma Secondary School. Give it to us. Let's go.
The 2 of them were singing.
Oh, the 2 of them were singing. Just before that, I have here with me, so there's Tuesday market, isn't it? There's something called Tuesday market. So this is chicken stew. I'm holding it. Have a look. It's chicken stew. There you go. Oh, camera. Oh, yes, please. Yeah, that's chicken stew. And this is jollof rice. Can you have a look at jollof rice is here? Yeah, this is jollof rice. So Tuesday market is Ghana Exim's mainline program. Let me just read out to you what Tuesday market is about before I go to Doma Secondary School. Tuesday market is encouraging all the Ghanaian producers, and it stopped before COVID, but it's back. It's back and is better and is bigger. Exim Bank is relaunching its Tuesday market on Tuesday, 26th April, next week Tuesday, at the World Trade Center in Rage. The event will also witness the exhibition of various made in Ghana products, and it's at 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Tuesday market is an initiative of the Ghana Exim Bank with its clients and producers of purely made in Ghana goods. So if you go there, it's all just made in Ghana goods you're going to see. Matilda, come over and let's show them a bit of what we have. This is plantain chips. This jollof is great, yeah? You should try it. Just call Ghana Exim Bank and say you want the made in Ghana jollof. I traveled with one and it was great. And some friends of mine who are Europeans, they had it and they were good. So this is jollof, yeah? Okay, and then this is beef stew here. Yeah, right there. Yeah, we're going far with our food, isn't it? And then you have, this is starters, tomato and tomato sauce. Starters, yeah, you can try it. As for the plantain chips, you know that one?
Yeah, we know tomato sauce and all, but I think the rest are new. The beef stew and the chicken stew and the
jollof rice.
Jollof rice.
Yeah. What's this? Hibiscus?
Hibiscus moringa.
Oh, moringa. That sounds like.
Okay, and, I think spices. Yeah, spices for cooking.
Okay, so all of these are made in Ghana. That will be showcased at the Ghana Exim Tuesday market. Next week Tuesday, we'll get them in the studio here to talk to us about it in some detail. And then, do you want to take some home?
Yes, I would love to.
Oh, but we all, I like the jollof, so leave the jollof for me. Okay, I will go back to Doma Secondary School, where we hear the anthem and the 75 years of educating grace people from the Doma Secondary School. Let the anthem start. I said two of you do it. Can you go?
Great Domas is calling you. Wake up and serve. Mother Domas is calling you. Arise and serve her with gladness. Yes, indeed, we shall fight for our school. We have already united to fight for a common goal. Success is a goal. We shall fight for our alma mater.
Unfortunately, our voices were not.
Yeah. So which year did you finish? Let's begin with you.
I was part of the first batch of SSS.
First batch of SHS?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 95.
Yeah, 93.
93, okay.
94, yeah.
Okay, and Madam, when did you finish?
2002.
2002, okay.
Yes. And I'm 2005.
2005, okay, so you are younger. Give us a brief history of the school. Who's going to do that?
Well, before I go there,
yes.
Can I say one thing?
Please.
I wish you could make the seat belt as important as your wallet.
Yes,
or as your phone.
I'm working on it. It's very, very important.
I'll be very grateful.
I will do that. I'll do that.
We need you.
Yes.
Okay.
The history of the school.
Yes. Doma Secondary School has a very interesting history. Established in 1947. Actually, the first ever secondary school established by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. In both Ashanti and Branhafo. So it's a very old school, 75 years, very important. And the most interesting thing about it is the fact that when it began, it had only one student.
A single student?
A single student.
Oh, that's how Doma Secondary began?
Yes. One student. And
one teacher. Did they start under a tree?
No.
In somebody's house?
Somebody offered a wooden house. If you go to Doma Hinkro, I don't know whether you've been to Doma Hinkro before, because the building is still there. It was a wooden house, a story building. So when you go to Doma, we call it Nuyadang or something like that. So that's where it started from. Then later it moved to Rest House. That's the present day Doma Hospital around that area. And then where it is the present location of Doma Secondary School, I think it was 1960 when we got that place and it was established. So, but initially, the school was called Doma State College. And then from there, later when Dr. Kwame Nkrumah supported the school, it became Ghana Secondary School.
Okay.
So if it hadn't changed to become Doma Secondary School, we have had Ghana Secondary School in Doma. So
like we have in Tamale.
Yes.
Okay, and Ikoforidi as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then later, when it got to the present day, through the requests from the then chiefs and people of the area, the school was named Doma Secondary School, as we have it today. So it has gone through 3 different names, and we are here today celebrating 75 years of secondary education.
What is the purpose of the homecoming?
I think, as Prof just mentioned, a school of this nature, very old, have made a lot of impact, but unfortunately, all old students, we are not together. Every year group are on their own. So having achieved this milestone, we thought it wise that this is a time for all old students to come together so that we can have a national student union, old student union, and then we can use that medium, contribute our quota to the development of the school. So for the homecoming, it is purposely to bring all old boys and girls together so that we can contribute well to help the development of the school.
So what are the activities going to be? Do you have that?
The first day, the program is going to start on Friday night. We have the students coming to campus.
So this is at the school?
Yes. And there's going to be arrival and registration of guests and old students. Then there's going to be a year group roll call by gathering students to register with their names and the year of completion. Then we are going to have a candlelight procession. Then of course Jama and the bonfire. That's for the first day. Then
will the students be there, or
the students will be there?
They'll be there. Okay.
They'll be there. So with the second day too, it's going to be Saturday, the 30th April. There's going to be a float throughout the principal streets of Doma Nkro. Then we are going to have the launch of the 75th anniversary and fundraising. Then we are going to have encounter with the current students, have chat with them, encourage them, then also share our lifestyles and story with them. Then there's also going to be an open forum and formulation of a national Old Students Association.
You don't have it? You have it?
We don't really have, it's not really formalized. We only have the year group. So we are just trying to come up with the association itself. Then we're also going to have, of course, entertainment for the evening. Then finally, we'll bring the whole program to a close on Sunday, May 1st, with a Thanksgiving service, and we close for the program.
I see, yeah. The Alumni Association has been in existence for some time now, except that perhaps it hasn't been as strong as we want it to be.
Yeah.
You know, if you talk about the Augustines, the Presets, and the Archimotes, it's all about the contribution from the alumni, the old students, the old boys and old girls. But it looks as if in our part of the world we haven't seen that much. So this is the time we have to do something. You know, Domas is a decanfo. We are decanfo. We are pace setters.
You have to pick up.
Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that. We haven't been able to live up to that expectation. So sometimes I feel bad when Domas is categorized as a category B school.
By the GS.
By the GS. When we do the National Maths and Science quiz, we don't see Domas there. Sometimes I feel bad about it. So what can we do so that Domas will move on and take its place as a pace setter? And I think that is what should inform us. And it all comes down to a lot of things. The recent homecoming that St. Augustine's did, if you saw the number of people who came and the massive support that they had, you know, I'm in Cape Coast, so we see everything. All the schools are in Cape Coast. When they organize at Isadore College, when they organize alumni homecoming and all that, the support and the participation is so great. But we don't see that. So we must start doing something. The government cannot do it alumni associations are so strong when it comes to building institutions.
So did you have a project for this 75th anniversary?
A number of them.
Okay.
A number
Which
of
are
them.
some of the core ones?
The library. We want to
library.
have a very strong and modernized library. We are going to support in building classrooms. Recently, when I went to the school, and I went around, I felt sad because some of these old buildings, Kwame Nkrumah built, some of them are collapsing. You can clearly see that we're not getting the necessary support to build infrastructure. So we have a target to help build infrastructure. We have an 18 classroom block that we want to help the school to build. Something that if we are able to get the support will be financed by the Alumni Association. So we are still soliciting support for that. And then there are other projects scattered around campus. In other words, what we want to do is to help to raise the image of the school through infrastructural building. Through that, then we can raise the standard of education over there. Something that some of us feel so sad about. Because I believe that if from there, today I'm a professor, everybody else there who goes there can become. And that should be the target. So when we have a situation where students in the school don't feel that they can get that far, it's bad. So we have to go back and let them see us. Let us tell them our stories so they can listen to and learn, take lessons from our stories so they can move on. The motivation is so important. It's not always about money, but also the motivation, which is the most important thing. Because some of us, if it were only about money, we wouldn't be here. It was a motivation to get the education that has brought us here. So that is something that we want to take upon ourselves to help the school to recultivate so that we can get to where we want to be as pace setters.
What's the actual date of the 75th anniversary?
The 75th anniversary is on 30th of September to 1st of October.
I see.
Yeah, for the anniversary.
Okay.
Yes. But for the homecoming, that is 29th of April to 1st of May 2022. So the homecoming is coming on just
next week. And
then on September, we gather ourselves for the actual anniversary.
Wow. So who are the guests coming? Who are not
a lot of them.
A lot of old boys and
girls.
girls.
A lot of old boys that if you mention it, you'll be surprised that they really attended Domahini.
Prof is coming.
Yes. And we have the Domahini himself is an old boy.
Oh, Domahini is the High Court judge?
Yes.
Yeah, he's an old boy.
Yes. And we have a P Court judge too, Justice Ban, I don't know if you know him. We have Justice Solomon. We have Justice William Buampong. And then we have our own Nanadra Window. They are all old girls.
Oh, Nanadra Window is an old girl.
And then the former DJ president, Adjoa Yeboah Afari. Yes. And then the current Minister for Health, Kokwet Mamenu.
Hey, Kokwet Mamenu from Doma.
The current
Minister for Doma, isn't he?
Yes. The current Minister for Water and Sanitation, Honorable Cecilia Brandapa. They are all old.
Also from Doma?
Yes.
Okay.
He also attended Doma Senior High School.
I see. The former IGP.
Yes.
Apetu?
No, Opongbono.
Opongbono, former IGP. And they are all in attendance.
Oh, that's a big story. That's a very impressive lineup.
Oh, yes.
Very impressive lineup. Oh, congratulations to the school.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure by dint of hard work, you've produced all of these people. So Prof is right. If the students see all of these people lined up, they can feel that they can achieve anything that any of their contemporaries anywhere is achieving, whether it's Achimota or it's Prosecco. That's a very impressive story. I see. So this is the T-shirts for the homecoming. Eh?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have white and blue for the. Is it blue for the?
We have white, blue, and green too.
Oh, Doma is a mixed school, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It's being mixed from the old system to the new system.
Yes.
I see. I said fully boarded.
Yeah, fully boarded.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So what's your last word on this? Prof, let me give you the last word.
Well, my last word would be that I'll encourage our colleagues to be part of this homecoming exercise.
But with this kind of cast that you have mentioned, you can raise a lot of money for the projects.
Well, it's all about the willingness to do it. Having the name doesn't necessarily mean that maybe you're going to get it.
Yeah.
But it's about people understanding what we have to do and what we can do and where we want to go. So they will contribute. Some people may not understand it that way. Of course, if everybody who ever attended Doma Secondary School was to contribute something, that would be massive, and we will all be very happy. There's one thing I've always loved about Doma Secondary School, and the fact that in the days when we were in school, it was all about knowledge acquisition. Unfortunately, today, it's more about examination-focused teaching and all that. That is a major difference between Doma Secondary School and other schools. And so sometimes we had colleagues who completed Doma Secondary Schools with not so good grades, but performed extraordinarily well in tertiary institutions. So this is something that I will encourage people to get to understand, that always judging performance and knowledge based on grades can be very misleading. And so I will encourage our colleagues to come. Let us go and tell our story to our students. Because if I tell you the grades with which I completed Doma Secondary School, you will laugh at me.
But today you're a professor.
But when I came to the university, I had first class.
Perfect.
Good. But if you compare, you will say, okay, you ask a question, what happened to you in secondary school? But of course, a lot happened to me. That's another story another day. So the encouragement is there.
But what did you study? What are you professor of?
English.
Oh, fantastic. So that's what you studied at the first degree?
Yes.
I see.
Why all the courses are fantastic courses, not just English.
No, I understand.
But all other programs fantastic. So let's take it.
Is she also a professor?
No, I'm not a professor. Okay. I'm a marketer by profession.
Oh, you're a marketer.
Yes.
Okay, and
I'm a banker.
You're a banker?
Yes.
Here in Accra, in Kumasi, or
in Sunyani? I work with the Central Bank in Sunyani.
Oh, the Bank of Ghana in Sunyani. Yes. Oh, okay. So you are close to Doma. So you'll be coordinating our arrival and all that when we are coming. I'm coming as well.
Very well. That would be very interesting.
We really love to.
I'd like to thank you very much.
Please, Paul, I would like to add, in fact, year groups all over, I mean, have been doing well. Some present chairs and all to the school. And so we appreciate all that year groups have been doing. But it's a time for all of us to come together, because as individual year groups, we can do, but as all year groups coming together, we can do better. And so we appreciate them for what they've been doing. This is a time for all of us to join all these year group forces together to a massive one, so that we can have greater impact in the school. So that is one thing I want to answer.
Absolutely. Do you have some text messages, or is it on politics? Let's do some 2-2 from each of you, and then we can call it a day. Let's hear you first, Matilda.
Yes, we do. And Paul, please, with your permission, I'd like to wish my grandmother a happy birthday.
Oh, your grandmother? How old is she today?
Yes, I have no idea. My grandmother's age is debatable. It keeps changing. Yeah, today's her birthday, and she watches the show. So I love you very much.
Name?
Happy birthday. She's called Florence Kujo. She's a retired nurse.
Oh,
yes.
Matilda's grandmother. A very happy birthday to you. Okay, give us the final text messages that you have.
All right. So from Piero, Akon, Kwame, big ups to Paul and the team. You guys are doing well. At least we get the fact here. From Yao Kwetsu Tego, if Ghanaians were to work with the National Pledge, Ghana would have been a safe haven for us all. God bless our homeland Ghana and make her great and strong. From Frank Achi, watching live from Sweet Apple Laundry and Cleaning Service at Abuakwa Inso Maye behind Kasapreko. From Ike Newton at Ativo. Paul, did you ask the same protecting questions Woon to me asked when you asked Woon to me when he was on your show talking about Papano? The keyword here is staged robbery by national security. As for morality, I don't care. Your appointer is guilty. Ask them to respond to her questions before the second interview. From Rev Marcus Opoku Mensa, this girl is a scammer. She must be arrested. We can't disgrace our fathers like that. No matter what the situation is, they still remain our fathers. The national security must act fast.
He says, I wonder why Haruna Idrisu up to date hasn't declared his presidential ambitions. He is a fine gentleman. And as Clinton says, Sam George and Ablakwa, strong future candidates for the NDC. Danny Slim says, NPP should not waste time discussing this EIU report. NPP can still do better than what we've been seeing already.
Also from Senior Lofty, good evening, Paul. Ghanaians will vote for competent NPP candidates, whether Baumia or Alan. But I propose these two are merged. NPP has politicians who are good managers of the economy and not politicians like John Mahama and his babes with sharp teeth. Also from Yahaya Sisu, would the live telecast include what the one paneling them will tell them to do, and the meetings the judges will have in their bosses' offices before coming to the chamber? Our brains are beyond what he is doing. Also from Ebenezer Eyim Dankwa, I perfectly agree with the AG in broadcasting of cases of immense national interest to diffuse the propaganda after judgment. And also from Gasty Man, Paul, I don't think you should give credence to this lady by discussing her. Her interview was clearly orchestrated for political reasons. She has no credibility. The guy who interviewed her just needed attention.
Oh, okay. Haji, have you given us your messages already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the battery for the phone the mic is there. Oh, can they give her? There's another microphone there. Okay. Yeah, just bring it over. Sorry. So I thought you said the phone. So the mic. Okay. So he'll give us the final text messages.
Right
now,
from the Akiefia constituency, he says, "Good evening, Paul. For the generation who were born around the 80s, Asamoah Gyan is our legend. He gave us a good football to watch, and we will forever be grateful to him. Asago, God bless you and your household." Now, Alhaji Hamza Pig Farm says, "Interesting times we live in this country, but wonder shall never end. With or without President Mahama, any candidate who wins the flag bearership of the NDC is automatically going to win the 2024 elections based on the abysmal performance of this government. But some end up there should tell Mr. Beneficent that President Mahama and the NDC does not need his advice to win the 2024 elections. The NDC will not change Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman today and will not change her tomorrow. She's the obvious choice for the position." Now, from Brahma in Tema 19, he says, "Good evening. Please ask Paul for me. Can independent candidates decide not to join any parliamentary caucus, or it's mandatory?" And lastly, from Richard Sapong Ababio, he says, "Good evening, Mr. Adumotri. In fact, you are doing a fantastic job for Ghana. 1. I promise you that it shall be well with our Manchester United club one day. 2. Asamoah Gyan is indeed a living legend, and I like the way you accord him that status. 3. The Attorney General, Mr. Godfrey Dame, is a judicial genius for coming out with such important suggestions. I really love him for that."
Okay, we'll leave it there. And pastor of Bindan Church, Good Life Church, is coming after the show. Thank you very much to our MCL for giving us a bit more time. We nearly ran out of time. Congratulations to Doma Secondary School, 75 years old. I will be there once upon when he's coming because he'll give us the protection that we need. And that's it for Good Evening Ghana for this week. Oh yes, I believe that. Gratitude once again to the crew that held the program on Tuesday, and we'll be back next Tuesday with another edition. It's a weekend. If you drink, don't drive, and we pray that on Saturday Manchester United will drive. Okay, good night. Good night, viewers. Yes, and wear your seatbelt, please. Yeah, I'm going to wear mine. Wear it, okay? Good night.